we're a state of low taxes and cost of living, of high character and value, a state where a farmer army might just show up to your house, and that's a good thing. Iowa is a state.
Tonight, Governor Reynolds talked about the health of Iowa. It was the annual condition of the state address.
It was a chance for the governor to talk about the issues that she wants the legislature to tackle in the coming months.
She addressed topics like education and health care, even nuclear energy. KCCI's affiliate Jacobson is live for us at the State House tonight. Affiliate, what are lawmakers saying about the governor's proposals?
Well, Ben and Stacey, there were definitely some moments during her address where both Democrats and Republicans got up out of their seats and were cheering and clapping for some of those proposals that she was mentioning during her condition of the state. And when we spoke to Democrats after that address, they say, yeah, some of those ideas sound good in theory, but ultimately they'll have to wait to see the actual text of that piece of legislation or those pieces of legislation to see if they can actually get on board with how these ideas will be carried out. In her 8th condition of the state,
once again, the condition of our state is strong.
Governor Kim Reynolds addressed state lawmakers and guests under the Golden Domes, first reflecting on the year before.
We faced devastating tornadoes and historic flooding that left families, farms, businesses, schools, and communities reeling.
And looking towards the year ahead.
I mean, we have the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of Iowans.
Reynolds proposed legislation related to education, specifically focusing on math instruction, and she introduced a bill that requires schools to keep instructional time free from cell phones.
Of course, there'll be common sense exceptions, like during an emergency, but the evidence is in, and it's time to act.
She also urged lawmakers to pass hands-free driving legislation.
The hands-free driving ban has not been able to get out of the Iowa House for a while. I don't understand why Democrats stand ready to support this. It's safer for drivers, safer for workers, and safer for people who are on the roads.
Reynolds then turned to health care in our state, proposing grants to train physicians and do research on cancer, a personal issue for the governor.
This is a path that my own family has walked. More than a year ago, after Kevin received a lung cancer diagnosis, I'm happy to share that the cancer remains in remission and he continues to do well.
Reynolds also discussed early childhood development, announcing a program that would provide grants for preschool programs and child care providers that integrate their services.
The funds could be used to defray the cost of transportation to bring the children from school to child care or vice versa. Or they could pay for a preschool teacher at a local child care center or child care staff at the local school.
To hear more about, obviously I need to hear more about what she proposed today, but it sounds like they put a tremendous amount of effort into child care, which obviously ties into the workforce issue. So I'm looking forward to see what that model may look like.
Lowering property taxes, that's something that he and other Republican lawmakers have said is one of their priorities for this session. And Reynolds did not specifically mention any proposed legislation to lower property taxes for Iowans. And he says he wasn't surprised about that, but that he says conversations are happening behind the scenes. Live at the State House, Ophelia Jacobson, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.
And at the conclusion of the governor's speech, which lasted about 46 minutes, Democratic leaders had a chance to respond.
Senate Democratic leader Janice Weiner talked about things the governor did not address and the opportunity for bipartisanship this session.
There are a number of areas where we can work together, a number of areas of potential bipartisan cooperation that we can work together for all Iowans, and I was very happy to hear that. There are a few things that I'd say quickly that I didn't hear from the governor on. One was our housing shortage and how we end up with more affordable housing. Another was our workforce shortage, how we bring people to the state and retain them. I already mentioned preschool, and the last one was nothing on the opioid settlement funds. It's past time to get them out the door.